Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into an absolutely fascinating, almost unbelievable slice of history that completely rewrites how we think about war, propaganda, and the power of something as simple as a soda. Imagine this. Summer 1943. The sun bakes down on Camp Crossville, Tennessee. Dust swirls as German prisoners of war arrive, fresh from the brutal deserts of North Africa. These aren't just any soldiers, they're hardened veterans, many from the elite Afrika Korps who fought under Rommel, accustomed to deprivation, scarcity, and endless conflict. They've survived on hard biscuits, minimal coffee, and irregular, often meager, meals for years. Now, picture their faces as they see it for the very first time. Coca-Cola, a sweet, brown liquid, fizzing magically in a glass bottle. Its taste, its chill, its bubbles. It must have seemed like something from another planet, an impossible indulgence to men who'd known nothing but hunger and hardship. But this wasn't an isolated incident. This wasn't a fluke. This was their new reality. These soldiers had endured scorching African sun, unimaginable suffering. Yet here in America, they stepped into a world where ice cream was a routine dessert, soft drinks were everyday beverages, and candy bars so abundant that guards just casually handed them out. It wasn't random generosity, it was systematic. It was built right into the fabric of American camps and society itself. Across hundreds of camps in the U.S., 371,683 German prisoners would confront this stark new reality. A reality that absolutely shattered every piece of Nazi propaganda they ever been fed about American weakness and scarcity. Think about that for a second. The Afrika Korps, who had pushed the British back to Egypt, surrendered in Tunisia in May 1943. They expected brutality, starvation, humiliation from their Allied captors. Instead, within hours they were introduced to American K-rations. Crackers, processed cheese, candy, fruit bars, instant coffee, sugar tablets, cigarettes. Soldiers who had survived months on minimal rations suddenly treated these emergency meals like feasts, marveling at the richness and variety that had vanished from their own army's supplies years earlier. The journey to America itself was a revelation. Liberty ships, built at an unprecedented speed, carried prisoners across the Atlantic in conditions far superior to anything they could have imagined. These vessels, some transporting up to 30,000 prisoners a month, offered meals matching or even exceeding the standard rations of the crew. We're talking fresh bread, meat, vegetables, coffee with sugar and milk, and yes, even ice cream sometimes. Refrigeration systems kept food fresh throughout the 2-week voyage. Soldiers watched in disbelief as hand-cranked ice cream machines churned out 10 gallons at a time, serving desserts that seemed utterly fantastical to men who hadn't seen ice cream since before the war. Upon arrival at U.S. ports like Norfolk and Newport News, the contrast only deepened. Massive naval bases covering thousands of acres handled more cargo daily than major German ports managed in a week. Prisoners glimpsed PX stores, camp exchanges, absolutely overflowing with candy bars, soft drinks, and other treats from manufacturers like Hershey, Mars, and Nestlé. The sheer variety and accessibility of these goods, sold at the same prices as for American civilians, left an indelible impression. A 5-cent Coca-Cola, a candy bar for the same price. These weren't just luxuries. They were proof that abundance was a fundamental principle here, not a rare reward. The psychological impact of all this abundance was profound. German soldiers who had been rigorously trained to believe in scarcity and the absolute superiority of their own nation started to question everything they had ever been taught. Ice cream, chocolate, sugar, soft drinks. These weren't just treats. They were tangible evidence of an industrial capacity, an organization, an efficiency that the Nazi regime simply couldn't replicate. Prisoners saw children and civilians consuming these goods freely, not as privileges, but as ordinary aspects of life. They saw Americans from all walks of life enjoying meals, beverages, and treats with a casual disregard for scarcity, demonstrating a social and economic model entirely alien to the rigid, rationed society they'd known. Holiday celebrations drove these lessons home even further. Thanksgiving 1943 introduced German prisoners to the idea of coordinated national abundance. Camps served full traditional meals: roast turkey with stuffing, mashed potatoes with gravy, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, vegetables, pumpkin pie, coffee, and milk. These meals mirrored the dinners of American servicemen and civilians, emphasizing equality of treatment and providing a stark contrast to the hierarchical, scarcity-driven ideology the prisoners had been raised to accept. Then came Christmas. Even more revelations. Civilians, churches, and civic organizations sent packages to the camps containing cookies, candy, toiletries, and games, extending generosity even to enemy soldiers. Prisoners were genuinely astonished that Americans, whose own families were fighting in a global war, could demonstrate such charity toward the very men who had fought against them. Work programs outside the camps provided yet another window into American abundance. By 1944, tens of thousands of prisoners were working in agriculture and food processing, witnessing firsthand the sheer scale of American production. In orchards, they picked cherries destined for maraschino syrup, observing volumes of fruit and quality standards unimaginable in Germany. In canneries, food was rejected not due to spoilage but for minor imperfections, illustrating a prioritization of aesthetic and consumer standards over mere survival. Sugar beet processing in Colorado and Nebraska revealed mechanization on a scale that German agriculture simply couldn't achieve. Prisoners realized that the sugar, chocolate, ice cream, and milk they consumed in camps were the products of industrial systems far beyond their comprehension. And these weren't just anecdotes. This was systematically documented. Military quartermaster records, Red Cross reports, and corporate archives provide precise data on rations, production, and distribution. POWs consumed between 3,300 and 3,600 calories daily, with sugar available at 4 pounds per month, meat at 32 ounces weekly, milk and ice cream regularly, and soft drinks freely at 5 cents each. In contrast, German civilians struggled with 200 to 1,500 calories daily, sugar at 280 grams per month, very limited meat and milk, and no ice cream or soft drinks whatsoever. The disparities were absolutely shocking, illustrating not propaganda, but concrete reality. Enemy soldiers were eating better than the civilians of their own country. As the months passed, prisoners started sending food packages home to their families, sharing chocolate, coffee, and canned goods with relatives suffering deprivation in Germany. These acts of distribution further reinforced lessons about production, accessibility, and abundance. Former prisoners later testified that witnessing the casual availability of luxury items reshaped their understanding of economy, democracy, and efficiency. They internalized that abundance could be a tool of influence, that prosperity could be produced and shared, and that generosity could transform enemies' perceptions. The role of Coca-Cola, ice cream, and candy bars cannot be overstated. They were symbols of the American industrial system, tangible proof that production and distribution could surpass mere need, and that luxury could beautifully coexist with utility. German prisoners consistently described these items in memoirs and interviews as the catalysts for a profound ideological change. The first sip of Coca-Cola, the first spoonful of ice cream, and the first bite of a chocolate bar represented more than just taste. They were revelations. Each sensory experience conveyed powerful lessons about capacity, standardization, fairness, and the practical application of abundance. By 1945, these experiences had produced long-term impacts. Former prisoners returned to a destroyed Germany, often healthier and better nourished than when captured. They carried with them a new knowledge of industrial efficiency, production standards, and consumer distribution. Many went on to become incredibly influential in post-war economic reconstruction, advocating for systems that mirrored the abundance they had experienced in America. Coca-Cola returned to West Germany in 1949. Ice cream parlors modeled after American soda fountains emerged, and candy bars became symbols of recovery and modernity. Former POWs often became importers of American goods, leveraging their first-hand knowledge of their appeal. These experiences also shaped cultural and social attitudes. The concept of equal access to quality food and treats, previously alien to the German psyche, became a cornerstone of post-war economic and social rebuilding. Supermarkets, standardized distribution, and consumer-focused policies were championed by men who had learned that true prosperity required production, accessibility, and fairness, not coercion or rationing. The psychological transformation was evident across decades. Former POWs consistently highlighted food abundance as truly transformative in interviews, memoirs, and documentaries. An Afrika Korps officer later reflected, "We expected to defeat a weak, divided America. Instead, we found a nation that could give ice cream to enemies. That's when we knew we had lost more than a war. We had lost our entire world view." Another veteran recounted, "My first Coca-Cola was like drinking the future. It was sweet, fizzy, completely unnecessary, and available to anyone for a nickel. That drink contained everything Nazi Germany wasn't: abundant, democratic, joyful." In essence, American food abundance achieved what military defeat alone could not: the complete transformation of enemy hearts and minds. Men who arrived as staunch believers in Nazi ideology left as witnesses to the unparalleled power of productive democracy. Coca-Cola, ice cream, and candy were more than mere luxuries. They were tools of cultural and ideological influence. Through everyday experiences, through observation rather than forced instruction, German prisoners learned that abundance could be a weapon as powerful as any army. This incredible story shows us that the experience of German prisoners in American camps went far beyond mere survival. It was a transformative exposure to abundance, democracy, and efficiency. Every meal, every candy bar, every soda bottle, and every scoop of ice cream reinforced lessons that would influence post-war Germany, shaping its economy, culture, and social systems for decades to come. What an incredible historical insight, right? It really makes you think about the subtle yet powerful ways societies influence each other. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.